Welcome to our second interview to everyone that is listening. So the CISO Alliances, in conjunction with our partner for this project, Trustwave, are working on an exciting alliances project called Risk Resilience and Reputation, CISO and the Board, where we'll be exploring the relationship between CISO and the corporate governance in relation to risk, resilience and reputation. Joining me today as we explore this project, I have Tamlynn Deacon, Head of Information and Cybersecurity at HBK. Thank you for joining us, Tamlynn.
Great to be here.
Supporting me, as I named her last time, my sidekick for today is Jodie, who's Head of Marketing for Trustwave in EMEA. If I could just pass over to you, Tamlynn, just to introduce yourself first of all. I've thrown a curveball at you there.
Oh yeah, sure. Thanks, James. So hi everyone, I'm Tamlynn Deacon. I was born and raised in South Africa. I moved to England when I was 20. My background is I wanted to do everything and see everything in my youth, except for anything to do with technology. So it's a bit of a strange one that I am where I am. But I always say that there's two type of people that are in cyber: those who have a passion for it, and they're the ones that are going out there and trying to hack in their sleep, or trying to fix everything, and those that cyber actually chooses them. And I firmly sit into that second camp. My main drive is to make sure that people are, the light has been shined on my team, and that they're doing the best jobs that they can do, and being the best selves that they can be. And that's how I find success in cyber. On a bit more practical note, I've been working in and around cyber risk compliance and governance for 15 years, in industries from software as a service, finance and manufacturing. I started my own business to make cyber simple and to help people get a foothold into the industry back in 2017. But COVID and being 6 months pregnant at the time put an end to that. So now I'm a head of information and cybersecurity at a great company called HBK. HBK is a global leader in advanced virtual and physical testing and high precision sensing solutions. People ask me that a lot, and is a part of the Spectrus Group. So that's me.
I'm going to jump straight in with a tough question for you, straight into it. And how prepared is your organisation for a data breach? And is the board engaged in these discussions? And if so, what is their involvement?
Okay, great. Thanks for that, James. So yeah, preparedness is a difficult thing to measure in cyber because there are so many ways that things can go wrong. So you have to really try and boil it down to what the core issues are and what you need to do if something does go wrong. From our perspective, we have a pretty robust and well-tested CERT. So it's a security and incident response team. As in manufacturing now, when we do have to assemble our CERT, and turns out that our controls have actually mitigated the key risk, we call it a near miss. And from that point of view, we do a lessons learned. We try to figure out what we can do better in the future so that we can improve our processes. As to how the board are involved, as I'm a director and report directly into our chief digital officer and by extension the rest of the executive leadership team, we have a channel that I communicate directly with the rest of the board members on. I say rest, I'm not a board member myself, but directly with them on should anything go wrong. So I have that ability to get their attention quickly and to get them involved. From how they support me is it's generally building that trust and making sure that they know that when I'm talking to them about things that they trust that it is true and accurate and I can rely on them for their support. So that is their key involvement. If anything does go wrong and any communications going out, that obviously comes from them too rather than directly from myself.
Does your organisation have a cybersecurity director on the board? What is their role?
Yeah, so yeah, great follow on there, right? As I say, I report into the CDO, but I have a very good relationship with our group CISO, who's based at Spectrus. So as I mentioned earlier, HBK is owned by the parent company Spectrus, and he reports into the CIO. At both HBK and at Spectrus, we are regularly reporting our threat landscape that we're facing, how we're working to minimize the risk and trying to forecast what the future may hold, so we can try and be ahead of what's happening. So the board's main responsibility, as just covered on, is to listen, trust, and to support us. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance between the two, right? So we bring the technical expertise, they bring the, hey, let's figure this out from a business risk perspective, and figuring out that key balance that we're needed there to make sure we're doing the right thing for the company and for the employees.
So Tamlynn, I've got a question for you, and it's lovely to meet you as well. My question is, how are you and the cyber program measured by the board?
Okay, thanks for that one. Yeah, so this is through a combination of things. Monthly, I chair a meeting called the Information and Cybersecurity Board or Committee, depending on who you are speaking to. And on this sits our entire executive leadership team and a few other key stakeholders in the business. At these meetings, we review the state of all of our vulnerabilities, how we do our training, how our cyber ethical phishing campaigns are going, what our external posture is. So I don't want to name any company names here, but we use an external rating company that's similar to how you would rate insurance to your external posture, and we look at how that's doing, how we're comparing to other companies in similar sectors and those types of things. And we look at our internal heat maps, how our controls are stacking up, and if there are any key risks that might arise from those, what we can do and how we can mitigate them. And as I said, that's monthly. And in addition to that, we are measured at our ARC, our Audit and Risk Committee, which is also monthly. So any key areas that we are thinking, hey, this is something that is bigger, that needs to be, has a bit more attention than what we're discussing just from a security perspective, we bring up there and is tracked there. So that's measured both at HBK and at Spectrus level.
What about the challenges CISOs face when communicating the value of the value of the cybersecurity investment into the board and the business?
Okay, so this is a good question. So I'm going to answer this on behalf of CISOs rather than specifically at my company. As I've said, I've worked in a range of different companies, and this one is a bit different. So as I mentioned right up in the beginning, you've got two types of people in cyber: those who choose it and those who it chooses. And when you're coming from the background of those who have chosen cybersecurity, they're usually a bit more technical and not necessarily too into building relationships or into figuring out these types of things. That's not what excites them. Figuring out the depths of the business and how they run is a bit more difficult. The problem with that is you need to be able to communicate in business speak what you need from a technical point of view. And nobody likes FUD. So the fear, uncertainty situation, you don't want that. You want to have clear facts and figures and things to back up what it is that you need. So from what I do and how I like to do it is to try and actually tie that back to real money. So for example, if we've got a customer or an opportunity to make 50 million, but they're asking for a specific security questionnaire, they're asking to answer some questions, I can say, hey, hold on, if we are not doing these security items, if we don't have this particular technology in place, if we're not doing X, Y, and Z, we're going to lose this deal. So I can tie that real cost of what we're applying to on a daily basis and the resource it takes to maintain it to specific customers that are asking for it. And that really does help from that perspective. Another thing that I would say here is super important is to make sure that you're building relationships. That trust and the ability to have those conversations with the board at any given time and not to feel afraid to talk to them is so important, because when you do speak to them, they're going to understand your language, they're going to understand how you communicate, and that will help your process on trying to get those investments that you're looking for. So I know it's not quite 100% answering the question, but it is a little how-to guide of stuff that I've learned over the last 15, 20 years on how to get those value adds in there.
How else can you educate the board? around cyber risks and threats, because that's something I think that everyone has got different ways and different opinions on.
Yeah, exactly that. So coming back to what I've just mentioned there, yeah. So don't rely on the FUD. Make sure that you're sticking to the facts. As mentioned, we at HBK, we're measured at the board. We talk about our risks, we talk about our threats, we're open about what the real issues are and what it is that we need in order to mitigate them. So I would say just try and be clear on those types of things, have that open dialogue, build those relationships. And in addition to this, if there is anything emergent, for example, when the Russia-Ukraine war started, on that channel that I mentioned in a previous question that I have with the board, I shared what we were going to do, how we were going to tackle it, and I've got that type of ability to say, when I'm talking to you in a certain area, it's important, as opposed to the whole, hey, I'm building my relationship with you over here. While I'm speaking to you in this particular frame, it means I need your attention because this is something that could actually cause issues in the future. So I need you to be available, I need you to be present, and I need you to know that if something's going to happen, this is the time that I'm going to need your help and support on that one.
What sort of questions are the board asking that are challenging for you to respond to?
Great timing for that one today, James. I'm not gonna lie. So I actually get this question every month at these meetings, and it's really frustrating. This one particular question is, what keeps you up at night? Or the other one is, what is the one thing that we need to do right now to be secure? And it's for anybody in this industry, they'll know that is an impossible thing to answer. At any given point right now, I can name 20, 30 different things that are of equal priority and equal issues that we need to try and tackle. So it's really difficult to be like, oh, this is the main thing, this is the one thing. And on the if you're being kept up at night, that means I'm not getting my sleep, which means I'm not going to be an effective leader, which means when these issues do come up, I'm not going to be able to tackle them. So what keeps me up at night, I'm like, it's usually my child crying, she has a nightmare. But that's not really what you're after. What you're actually asking is, what is it that we can do to improve our posture? But they want quick, simple answers, and they want the how and the how much it's going to cost and all of that nice and packed up into something, and it's just not that simple. Everything is so interwoven.
And what about the questions they should be asking that they're not?
Yeah. Okay. So this one is also very interesting. I think with how media is now and how clear it is that companies are being breached and how huge AI is exploding, that people, we think about IoT, we think about our smart speakers, our fridges telling us when we're out of milk, or, all those types of things. We are getting super connected, and people are really waking up to that. People are really getting on top of, hey, this stuff is important and cyber is everywhere. It's a part of our everyday life. So I would say that I wouldn't say there's this particular question that they should be asking, but I would say keep asking questions. There are no dumb questions, and I know that's cliche, but there aren't. There can be some really irritating questions, but there are no dumb questions. So I can't answer that in one given way, but keep being inquisitive, keep asking, keep asking those hard questions that frustrate and annoy us, because it's going to push us to be better and to get to a better place. So yeah.
What about metrics to enable a comprehensive overview of your organization's security posture? If you could only show 3, what would those 3 be?
Right, okay. So I've touched on a couple of them already in previous questions, but just to highlight them again, what I would definitely say is to have an understanding of what your internal control framework is like. So your information security management system, how everything is interlinked, and create a sort of a baseline on, let's have a look at where we are in an internal perspective, in sort of a health heat map kind of way, so that when your resources are limited, you've got a sense of where you should be focusing your priority. So that would be number one. Number two, I would say that external posture measurement is so important. A lot of people use those, good and bad, to rate your company on if you've got some good controls. And from the bad perspective, if they're looking at somebody with a low score, they know they're going to be a pretty easy target to get into. So that's a really good one. Perception is key, and that goes through cyber as well as anywhere else in this world. And for the third, I would say asset security tracking. So making sure that you understand your core posture, the type of operation systems that you've got running, your vulnerabilities, and any risk acceptances that you have around those core areas is so important, because then you know if there is going to be a potential anywhere, you know where you can start looking at how to find out who the owners are, all those types of things. So understanding your overall landscape is super important there.
So my question is going to take you back in time and looking at lessons learned. If you were starting out as a new CISO, what lessons would you share with your younger self?
Okay, yeah, I would love to go back in time and teach myself this. So I'm a pretty big advocate for mental health. So you might see a bit of a leaning here when I answer this question. I would say to myself that to make sure that your mental and physical health is always first, above your job, above everything. By its nature, this job is incredibly stressful, and you need to know yourself well. You need to know that you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anything else, and that's so important. And then on top of that, I would also say trust yourself. You have strengths that nobody else does. Imposter syndrome is real, but it should never define you. You've made it here for a reason, and you should use your strengths as your superpower. And I hope I would listen to myself, because I think that things would have been a lot more easier. The road might have been a less bumpy on route here. So yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tamlynn. I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you to Jodie as well for coming along, and I think she gets the best question at the end. I always want to ask that question. But thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Anyone that's watching, please do feel free to comment with your views to the questions as well, and look out for our next interview. So thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Thanks, James. Bye.
Thank you.